Albert Einstein. Today, when we hear his name, we think of genius. But interestingly, his life actually didn't start with a very spectacular beginning. Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in a city called Ulm, which was within the borders of the German Empire at that time. His father was Hermann Einstein, and his mother was Pauline Koch. The family was of Jewish origin, but they weren't a very wealthy family. In fact, even though his father Hermann was very talented at a young age, he had to leave his education and work due to impossible conditions. So Einstein's life story didn't go like he grew up in a comfortable family environment, everything was easy for him. From the very beginning, when Albert was still a baby, the family had to move to Munich. Those years were a period when electricity was becoming widespread in the world. His father and uncle were working to establish a business related to electricity. Albert first attended an elementary school in Munich, and later went to a high school called Luitpold Gymnasium. But the education system there bored him a lot. It required a lot of discipline, and it was a system completely based on memorization. Einstein couldn't really stand this situation. Already in his nature, he was more inclined to ask why rather than memorize. In 1894, the family had to move again, first to Italy, then to Milan, and later to Pavia. Although Albert stayed in Munich for a certain period to finish his school, he became increasingly distressed by the harsh order there. Finally, he convinced his family and went to Italy to join them. There's a very nice detail here. Einstein learns algebra by himself at a very young age, and as if that weren't enough, he even delves into Euclidean geometry. The family gets help from a teacher, someone named Max Talmud. But in a short time, something incredible happens. The teacher realizes that his student has surpassed him in some subjects. In other words, the man literally reaches the point of, this child knows better than me. Einstein's pursuits aren't limited to just mathematics and physics. At the age of 14, he's reading Kant. I mean, a difficult book like Critique of Pure Reason, which even some adults have difficulty understanding, and he can understand it. Imagine at 14 years old, you're reading Kant, and you can actually grasp it. This amazes those around him incredibly. Then Einstein wants to go to the Polytechnic School in Zurich. He does very well in the technical sections of the exams, but unfortunately, because he's too young, he isn't accepted the first time. Giving up isn't for him. He takes an equivalency exam called Matura in Switzerland, and in 1896, at 17 years old, he finally manages to get into the school. He studies physics and mathematics. In 1900, he gets his diploma. But it's not like everyone imagines. He got his diploma and immediately started as a professor or anything. Quite the opposite. After graduating, he has difficulty finding a job for a long time. He chases after positions at universities, but doors close in his face every time. During this time, he becomes a Swiss citizen and finally manages to find a job at the patent office in Bern through an acquaintance. What he has to do at the patent office is this. People come with an invention. Einstein looks at whether that invention is good or not, whether it works or not. So all day long he examines inventions. Although it seems like a simple clerk job from the outside, this environment keeps his mind constantly open. Mechanics, electricity, systems, constantly problem solving. And at the same time, he also has a private life. He has the opportunity to meet a Serbian mathematician-physicist named Mileva Marić. The two grow close. It's thought that she also contributed to Mileva's work, but it's not known for certain how much. Mileva becomes pregnant. there's mention of a child named Lieserl, but there's no clear information about what happened to the child. Later, they decide to get married. They have 2 sons, Hans Albert and Eduard. And let's get to the explosive part of the actual event. Einstein works at the patent office in the mornings, and in the evenings he thinks about physics on his own, scribbling. And the result? The year 1905. This year is such a year that it's later called the miracle year. The reason is that Einstein publishes 4 articles within this year, and each one alone is enough to turn the physics world upside down. Photoelectric effect. He explains that light doesn't only behave as a wave, but also carries energy in packets. The line of what we now call photon passes through here. He also receives his Nobel for this work, Brownian motion. He provides strong evidence that atoms really exist. This is one of the steps that ended the questions, do atoms really exist or not? Special relativity. He systematically presents the idea that the speed of light is the same for every person. He explains that time and motion are relative, and the most famous, E equals mc squared. He shows that mass and energy can be converted into each other. Today, nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, all of these are built on this system. Imagine the man at that time still isn't even a professor at a university. He's someone working at a patent office, and he's writing things that fundamentally change modern physics at that desk. Of course, over time, these articles start to be noticed, first the University of Bern, then Zurich, and then Prague. Finally, in 1914, he's invited to Berlin. There he joins the greatest scientific community. Right in those years World War I starts. Einstein, however, is anti-war. While some famous academics in Germany sign texts like war propaganda, Einstein refuses to sign. Around 1915 to 1916, Einstein this time works on general relativity. This theory explains gravity as the curvature of spacetime, and in 1919, when research conducted during a solar eclipse is at a level that confirms the theory, Einstein suddenly becomes a world-renowned person. Newspapers run headlines like, "Newton has been overthrown." And in 1921, he's awarded the Nobel Prize. Then world tours, conferences, visits to the USA, Japan, South America. He even meets the famous actor Charlie Chaplin. But sometimes this life also has a dark side. In the 1930s, the Nazis rise to power in Germany. Einstein also becomes a target because he's of Jewish origin. His house is searched, threats increase. Einstein can't return to his country. He has to settle in the USA and starts working at Princeton. As World War II approaches, some scientists fear the Nazis might make an atomic bomb. Einstein also signs a letter warning the USA about this situation, the Einstein-Szilard letter. That letter plays an influential role in the USA starting its nuclear program. Although Einstein is someone who doesn't want war, he also carries great anxiety thinking, if the Nazis make it first, it will be a disaster. But when the war ends, the atomic bomb is used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Einstein is very saddened by this, because the equation he made, being connected to such destruction in the world, becomes a very painful situation for him. In the following years, he emphasizes peace more. In 1955, at the age of 76, he closes his eyes to life. After his death, he leaves hundreds of scientific articles, thousands of letters, and a huge legacy. But his most beautiful aspect has been this. Despite being a very great person, he says this about himself: I have no special talent. I'm just very curious,